But in the last, say, week, that's really minimised. It's almost like he's not hitting that peak anymore. There is some really positive small changes. It was very hard to find a good paediatrician who was open-minded. I told him about stem cells, and he has maybe 3 patients in Australia that have travelled to do stem cells. He said that it's worth a try, that there hasn't been any negative outcome from it. So he was quite positive and supportive. My name is Branka and I'm from Australia, and I have an 8-year-old son with severe autism, and that's why I came here, because I heard that stem cells can benefit these children, so that's why we're here.
And can you please describe me the condition of your child?
Nadal has severe autism. He's non-verbal, he's got ADHD, he has very high anxiety, very panicky, he can sometimes hurt himself, and the symptoms were quite mild when he was about 3, but as he's gotten a little bit older, like 6, 7, they become quite severe.
When you get acquainted with the stem cells and you decided to try stem cells, was you scared about this idea, like it could be harmful and stuff like that?
No, because before the COVID corona hit, we looked into stem cells. So Nadal was probably maybe 4, and we looked into it, but I didn't know that they did it in Belgrade. We looked at a different company, and I knew of a woman that did it, and her son would have been about 3, and she noticed some differences with him. So then we couldn't travel, obviously, to look into it, so then I left it. But then it popped up, this company popped up on my Facebook. And then I just did some research and we just decided to do it. We weren't scared at all about it, because I feel like stem cells is something that could help him, because we'd tried medications, we tried, natural remedies, we tried all sorts of different therapies. We literally have tried everything with him and nothing really worked. And I think one of the reasons why I like stem cells is it actually helps the cognitive system and his inflammation, which I think causes a lot of his bad behaviours. So, I mean, it's been 3 weeks and I can see some positive changes.
What kind of positive changes?
So he doesn't like to be denied, and he gets quite aggressive towards himself, because he's got a lack of understanding. He doesn't talk and he can't really express himself. But with denial, he's been a little bit more calmer. It's almost like he's trying to calm himself out of it. If you get stressed out, we'll just leave him for a moment, and usually it might go for 20, 30 minutes and he'll get really aggressive and scratch himself and, do all sorts of stuff, hurt himself. But in the last, say, week, that's really minimised. It's almost like he's not hitting that peak anymore. I don't know, I can't explain it. I don't know what it is, but there is some really positive small changes that I can see. So fingers crossed.
And can you please tell me the process of the treatment? How was it for your child?
Well, we first came here on the 28th, and I have never felt more comfortable taking my son somewhere, because he touches things, he screams, he does all that sort of stuff, and it was just such an understanding. All the nurses, the doctors were so warm and welcoming, and everything was explained to us perfectly. Like, we completely understood how the treatment went. I was a little bit worried about, doing the infusions, but they were very gentle. They, supported him, made him feel really comfortable, and he did stress out a little bit, but then he was quite comfortable. It was such a good experience. Like, yeah, really good.
Did you have any kind of sedation or without any sedation?
No, he had sedation. He had to be put under, because I don't think he'd sit with it, but he woke up quite good. They put us in a room, got him some food. What I like is they just make sure that he's comfortable, you know, whatever they can do to make it easier for him, considering he doesn't really understand what's going on. But, you know, he did super good, because we tried to do blood tests for him, and it hasn't been successful at all. So it was that's what we were quite scared of too, is them being able to do, you know, put him to sleep and stuff like that. But it was super awesome.
And what were your initial expectations from stem cell therapy?
I didn't really have any expectations, because I don't want to put expectations and then it's unsuccessful. But we did look at the percentage of success rate. You know, there was, I think, 4% that nothing will happen. So we had no expectations, but I think deep down inside, I felt like it was going to help something, you know, with his cognitive system. I mean, I'd love it if he could start talking or understand, but I feel like it is going to do something. I don't know what, because he's got so many different things going on in his system that I don't know. I just have this feeling that it's going to help him.
Did you discuss the idea of stem cell treatment with your doctor, pediatrician?
Yes, and my pediatrician in Australia, it was very hard to find a good pediatrician who was open-minded. I told him about stem cells, and he has maybe 3 patients in Australia that have travelled to do stem cells. He didn't give specifics, but he said that it's worth a try, that there hasn't been any negative outcome from it. So he was quite positive and supportive.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because I usually talk to many parents, and they usually say quite opposite. You know?
Yeah, well,
I am surprised.
he's actually such a great pediatrician that I've spoken to him about hemp oil. I've spoken to him about getting MRI on Nadal's, you know, brain. We've spoken about everything that I've spoken to a lot of GPs, and they've all said to me, that's just autism. You can't do anything about it. You're just going to have to put him on medication. Whereas I think he's a lot more advanced than a lot of other doctors and pediatricians. Because our doctor said, stem cell? Oh, why are you going to go and spend so much money? Why not? Why not if it's going to help? It's something natural that's being put into his system. It's not. My son was 4 years old, and he wasn't sleeping, and our doctor wanted to give him Valium. It's a 4-year-old. It's a baby. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's, if you don't look into it, the only option you have is medication, and the medication doesn't help children. It doesn't help their system. Like, I believe stem cells, you know, gets into their system, it gets into their brain.
How was your experience with the staff, doctors, nurses?
The doctors here and the nurses here, so lovely. So lovely. Everyone was just, made you feel warm and welcome, and just showed my son so much love and care. Like, just really beautiful experience. Even my husband said, he goes, oh, I love this place. It's just fantastic. It was just, when you're bringing a child that could break something or scream or cry or yell, you kind of panic, but it was just comfortable. You know, the dog could run up and down the hall or go upstairs and do whatever he wanted, and you just felt like, yeah, just, and very, when they were doing the procedures, they were explaining everything too, so you didn't feel like, oh, what are they doing now? They're just perfect.
What factors made you choose the Swiss Medica?
Because it's in Serbia. And I know the language a little bit, and I've been to Serbia in 2005, and I remember it being warm and welcoming and friendly people. So, and because it's Switzerland too, it's a company from Switzerland, yeah, and it's in Serbia. 2 good countries.
And how long does it take to fly from Australia to Serbia?
It was from Sydney to Doha 15 hours, and from Doha to Belgrade was another 5 hours. So all up, travel time, because we had 2-hour break, it was a long flight.
And how did you cope with
He was okay the first flight. He He wanted to sleep, but he couldn't get comfortable. And then from Doha to Belgrade, he was really panicked for about 3 hours, screaming, crying. So now when we go back, we'll see a difference maybe. I'm hoping.
Finger crossed.
Fingers crossed. I mean, it's a long flight, but I feel like it's definitely going to be worth it. You've got to keep positive.
Is there any advice you'd like to share with parents who might considering stem cell treatment?
I know that it's quite expensive, but to me, I feel like you have to try everything. And this is something that you have to definitely try. I mean, even though it costs a lot of money, I feel like these children need that put into their system. It's, to me, I don't know, I just feel like it's a superpower that's being put into these kids and these kids are missing it. So I definitely give it a go.